Hello, everybody. I decided to jump on completely out of the blue and do a live stream for you today. I had planned to record this video and edit it, but in thinking about it and writing some notes, which I have got here, I decided that probably wasn't a good thing to do because I would edit said video and I would chop it all up and I would probably omit things that I didn't want to say, and I would probably be a bit too scripted. So I thought it would be better to just turn on the camera and go live. So I apologise in advance if I say anything that I shouldn't or offend anybody. But I wanted to just come on and chat about the truth behind running a small craft and sewing business. So I'm very sorry. Because I think people's perceptions of a business such as mine, such as Beautiful Things, can often be very different to the truth. And the main reason for that is down to social media and the fact that social media can either be your friend or your foe. So it is very much your friend when it comes to running a small business, when it comes to getting the word out there that you exist, spreading the word that you have an offering, you have something to give to people. Old school media no longer works. Who actually reads the leaflets that get put through their doors? Who actually stops and looks at notice boards outside of the local shops? Who has the money as a business to spend on advertising in craft magazines and things like that? It's so expensive. And I know I have the biggest pile of magazines that I never go back and look at. And when I do, if I come across an advertisement, 9 times out of 10, it's old. What do they say? Today's news is tomorrow's fish and chip wrapping, I think is the phrase. So old school advertising just doesn't work, and it's expensive. Social media can be free. For us it's free. We choose not to pay to advertise on Facebook or Instagram. And it's a great way of getting your name out there. So that's where it's your friend. But it can also be your foe. And it can be your foe for a number of reasons. I would say the first one is the constantly changing algorithms. Just as soon as you get your head round how a social media platform works and how you can engage with your audience, the companies behind the scenes flip it all on its head, turn it all around, shake it all up again. And the people who were seeing your company or your projects or whatever it was that you were trying to share no longer see them. The people who want to see them don't necessarily see them. And it's a constantly changing whirlwind, which, from a business owner's perspective, is an absolute nightmare. And it's why lots of large companies employ social media managers who are employed to stay on top of the latest changes, the latest rules, regulations, and what's what, and make sure that their content is out there in the world. But as a very small business like we are, that simply isn't something that we can even contemplate doing right now. So it's your foe in that respect. The other way that it can be your foe is, as I titled this live stream, smoke and mirrors. Smoke and mirrors. I again have come on here natural today. This is me. I've got no makeup on my face. I haven't put a brush through my hair since I left my house this morning. And I've just sat down to talk to you. And that's because that is the way I like to portray myself to my clients, to my customers. It's normal. It's how I am most of the time. And yes, you will see pictures of me on social media all dolled up and with my makeup on, heading off for a night out somewhere or going somewhere swanky. You will see that, but this is me. This is natural, and I try to be as natural as possible. The main reason for that being is that it's very easy, from an outside perspective, to take a look at somebody's social media and make assumptions about said person or said business. And that is something I'm very, very conscious of. Um, I know for a fact if you were to stumble across my personal Instagram feed, you'd think, wow, look at her. She's always off to fancy holiday destinations. She's always traveling. She's got a nice designer handbag. She's always getting her hair done and her nails done. And you could think quite easily that I was absolutely rolling in cash. And then the secondary assumption is that therefore my business must be doing really well for itself if I can manage to be doing all those lovely things. And that's an assumption that I can understand is very easily made. If you've been following me for a while, you might notice that recently I've been on two holidays during the summer holidays. And the first one, especially, I went to Mexico, was a very nice holiday. I went to Mexico, all expenses paid, all inclusive, really, really amazing trip, beautiful hotel. Traveled in the fancy seats. I turned left on the plane. But I felt the need to post on my social media before I went to let my followers know that this is not the norm. And that that holiday had been gifted to me by a family member. I hadn't paid for it myself. Um, and lots of people said to me, why did you feel the need to do that, Claire? But the reason that I did that is for exactly this reason that I'm talking about, these smoke and mirrors, these assumptions that people who are potentially your future clients could make about you and your business. It was quite interesting that the only people that actually said, Claire, you don't need to say those sorts of things, were people who were already my clients, already my customers. They'd already come in and done classes. They'd been following me for a long, long time. But I was doing that to cover my bum, basically, and to make sure that people from the outside who could potentially be my future customers didn't think that, oh, do you know what? She doesn't need my money, or she doesn't need my support. She's doing well already. She's doing all right for herself. Um, so it leads really nicely onto a discussion about money. So that's probably the biggest thing for most small businesses, a regular and a good income stream. Um, Again, I'm not sure people really realize exactly how much a business needs to make before the people that work in it or own it actually see anything from it. And that's where I want to be honest with you now. Particularly because we as a business, and I know I'm not alone in this, certainly in the sewing and craft field, are struggling. I can honestly tell you we are struggling right now. Um, we're all struggling, all humans in this country. The cost of living crisis is a true thing. It is a real thing. So many people thought it was all just about the gas and electricity bills going up, but it's not. It's bigger than that. I've noticed it personally on a monthly basis, simply buying my weekly shop, how much more money I'm spending on exactly the same things that I was buying 6 months ago. And I've noticed it hugely as a business owner. Um, we have had a substantial drop in revenue over the last few months. Some would say, oh, well done, Claire. If you can get through COVID and a global pandemic, you can get through a cost of living crisis. But actually, I was saying to one of my customers today, during COVID, during the pandemic, they were actually some of our best times financially as a business. People had the time to spend on crafts, albeit that they had to do it at home. They had the additional income to spend on things because a lot of people weren't traveling to work. They were saving money by not having to go into work all the time. And a lot of people were on, oh, what do they call it? And they didn't have to go to work. I can't even remember what it's called, furlough. A lot of people were on furlough. And that actually was a huge advantage to us as a business. We had some of our best months financially during the lockdown. And then obviously coming out the back of that, people were desperate to get back, desperate to get back into the studio. They wanted to come and see us. They wanted to come and do classes. They still had that, you know, energy. And so we had some really good months after that too. But now things have really turned on their heads. People are back to work, they don't have as much time. And when they do have time, yes, they may well want to spend their time doing crafts, etc. But the money just isn't there for them to be able to do it. So it's a tough time right now. So I also wanted to talk about, I think I mentioned it earlier actually, talk about what we have to put in to a business such as this, before we can see, and I say we, but before I can see any personal financial gain. Obviously, I absolutely love my job. I thoroughly enjoy every bit of it, but yes, it gives me freedom. Yes, it gives me a fantastic feeling of, good, that I can help people, I can teach people, I can change people's lives. That sounds really big headed, but I know so many of my regular customers and clients have said to me, Claire, you've changed my life. And I'm very grateful to be in a position where I can offer things and offer that to you. But financially, me personally, I'm brassic right now. I'm going to just put it out there. I'm just going to say it. So, as an example, here are some of the monthly outgoings from a business such as mine that you may not necessarily have considered. So, there's the obvious ones. We've got our rent on our premises. We've got two premises here. Yes, the door connects the two, but we actually rent two properties here down at Ingrove Enterprise Centre. So we've got our rent, we've got our any business rates that we might have to pay. We're quite fortunate in that the government has put small business rate relief on these properties, so we are lucky there. But that's not going to last forever. And this year there has been a small amount that we've had to pay, which is the first time in 4.5 years that we've actually had to pay a little bit of rent, a little bit of rates. And I know from speaking to the local authority that next year they can't promise that small business rate relief is going to be around anymore. And if that's the case, we're going to get hit with a massive bill, which is frightening. Every year, the rate bill comes in the post, and I get that sick knot in the bottom of my stomach, and I think, oh God, is this the year that I'm going to have to pay a load of money? And I open the envelope, and it says small business rate relief 0, and I'm like, whew. But this year, as I say, it came through and there was an amount that I had to pay. Thankfully, not too much, but still amount that I wasn't expecting. And goodness knows what next year will bring. So please keep your fingers crossed for me. And if you know anybody in local government or the government in general, please do your best to keep small business rate relief. We need it. There's then things like the telephone bill, the internet for the internet, the Wi-Fi that we have here. Obviously, our staff. Now, we choose to only hire one employee, the lovely Sandra, but she's obviously on a full-time salary, so I have to pay her. I have to pay her tax. I have to pay her holiday. I have to pay her sick pay. Um, our other teachers work for us on a self-employed basis, so they're paid as per when they teach a class. But again, their rates are set for the classes that they teach, and if those classes aren't full, then sometimes their classes either break even or run at a loss. Classic example of that would be our jeans making workshop. The lovely Charlotte is amazing and worth every penny, but she's not cheap. And if her jeans workshop doesn't fill up to 5 people, then quite often it will just run at cost. And we as a business actually don't make any money out of it. And if we have less than 2 people, we actually have to cancel it because then we're running at a loss. So think about that when you're booking a class with an external teacher. The sooner you can book a place on those classes, the better, because that really helps us manage expectations and manage our finances and forecast our cash flow and all that sort of thing. It's really very helpful. There's then insurance. Our insurance bill is huge. Obviously, we have a property, we have public liability. If any of you were to chop off your fingers with a rotary cutter, we need to make sure that we can finance you accordingly. All of our machinery needs to be serviced and upkept. Is that a word? Kept up? and needs to obviously be insured if we were to have a fire or a flood, any kind of damage like that. So our insurance is really comprehensive, but as such is expensive and something that we have to pay. On a regular basis. DBS checks. So we have to make sure that both myself and Sandra are fully, it's not even called a DBS check anymore, is it? But you know what I mean. Make sure that we are thoroughly vetted so that we are going to be nice and safe, especially when we're teaching the children. There are several £1,000s that leave this business on a monthly basis before I even get a sniff. Um, and yeah, it's not easy right now. We've also got stock that we need to buy as well and keep on top of stock levels. And stock isn't cheap. I love to have a constantly lovely roll of fabrics coming in to the building. And quite often I will go down to the wholesalers and hand over a wad of cash and bring back some bolts for you. But whilst it sits on the shelves, it's not earning us anything. And it does often get to the point we have minimum quantities that we have to buy from our suppliers. I'll give you this one as an example. We have to buy a minimum of 15 meters of this lovely jersey. We do have quite a small client base. And so not everyone's going to want it. And when the say 5 people have bought 2 meters that they want, that still leaves me 5 meters sitting on the boat. Some would say have regular fabric sales, but if I was to do that, then I would find customers sitting on the fence thinking, oh, well, she'll have a sale eventually. I'll leave it. I'll wait because it will come down in price. And that's why we don't have fabric sales anymore. So yes, there's a lot of cost that goes into running a business like this before any customer, or sorry, before any owner actually sees a benefit. So then let's take that into account. If I had a job and I wasn't self-employed, if I had a job, I don't know, working in Tesco's full time and I was paid my salary, I would be paid my salary to do my job in the time that I had been contracted to do my job in. So probably, let's just say Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, as an example. As a business owner, your time is never paid for. And I can explain that one in more detail. So even when I'm on holiday, I'm never on holiday. I'm still replying to your comments, still replying to your messages, still doing administration behind the scenes. It has been amazing these last few weeks, don't get me wrong, having Sandra here in the studio, because she has kept everything running, kept everything shipshape, and it's been so good. It's meant that we can remain open as well while I'm off on holiday. But there's certain things that only I can do. And there's certain things that Sandra really doesn't like doing as well. Namely, when the printer goes wrong, we have to spend ages trying to sort that one out. But yeah, let's think about the things that a business owner has to do behind the scenes that you don't necessarily think about. People come in here all the time and they walk in the door and they say, oh, Claire, you're so lucky. What an amazing place to work. What a lovely, lovely job to have, getting to teach people to sew and stroke all the fabric and make lovely things. And that's so true. It is so true. And they're right. And I am so fortunate and so lucky to be in a position to be able to do it. And I know that. But what you don't see me doing is working through to the early hours in the morning, updating my website, purchasing new stock, purchasing new fabrics. And whilst that's fun, because I get to shop vicariously through you, it still takes time and it still takes money. Planning all your classes, so working out what to put on when, what people want to make and when, scheduling that into the diary, therefore updating the website, putting new things on there. Of course, there's the washing up that needs doing. There's the hoovering, there's emptying the bins, all those boring, mundane tasks that need to be done to keep the studio looking clean and tidy. There's the accounts, there's weekly bookkeeping, there's forecasting, there's cash flow. And yes, I have an amazing accountant that does a lot of the hard work for me. But all the basic stuff has to get done from this end. And that's all things that I do personally for my business. So yeah, Keeping regular work hours. Our shop needs to be open between 10 to 4, 5 days a week. And then all of that other stuff that I talk about gets done outside of those hours. So it often eats into my evenings or my weekends. Now, don't get me wrong, I would not have it any other way. As I've said, I'm really, really fortunate to be in a position where I am my own boss and I can do my own thing. If I want to go away, I can. I don't have to answer to anybody, and that's lovely. I often joke when people say to me, "Oh, Claire, do you think you could get to this party or this event?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'll speak to my boss. She's quite good. She lets me have time off." And I joke about that. And I say that to my kids all the time as well. I'm fortunate that if my children are poorly or they need me, then I can be there for them. And I know that. And I'm so grateful to everybody that's watching this who has perhaps purchased a class, bought some fabric from us. Or come along to the studio, because without you, I would not be where I am today. So this isn't a moan. This is just aimed at helping people see a little bit more behind the scenes, and perhaps see the truth of running a small business. So the worst thing, God forbid, I was to get sick. I hate it. If I'm poorly and I have to cancel classes, not only are we having to close the shop potentially and cancel classes, we then have to reschedule everybody, which then eats into yet another day where we could be potentially earning an income from another class. And during COVID, when we were allowed to open and have those small classes, that was the hardest part. Every time somebody cancelled due to COVID and I said, "That's fine, we'll reschedule you," I was losing money all the time. And it was so, so hard. And it's why when we were allowed to finally reopen for the final time, I actually waited 3 months before I did it, because I just had to spend the time scheduling and rescheduling all those cancellations. And it was so, so hard. And people don't see how you can lose money in that respect, but you do, because that person's not coming to a class on that particular day, and they then need to come to a class on another day when somebody else could have been coming. So you instantly lose money. So let me see what else is on my notes. That was that. So, okay. Right. So there's the ins and outs. There's the ins and outs. And I've already mentioned, and I've been honest with you and said, as a business, we are struggling right now. There are plenty of companies out there who do what I do who have recently had to close. I'm not going to name any names, but there are people who have had to close their shops. There are people that have had to downsize their premises, and they have had to really have a strong, hard think about the future of their business. And I've started to have those thoughts. I've started to have those thoughts, and I've started to have those conversations with those people who are close around me, some of my regular customers, my staff, Sandra, my parents, my partner. Those conversations have been had. Now, God forbid, I really do not want to have to close BTHQ. And this isn't me saying that if we don't do better by X, Y, and Z time, we will close the studio. But the potential is there. I'm not going to lie to you. The potential is there. Things are not good right now. And whilst they may look great from the outside, they're not. Now, I'm also fully aware that the majority of people watching this are also in the same boat as me. They're not necessarily in a position to spend money, and that's not what I am asking you to do now. I'm going to go through how you can help us survive this, let's call it economic crisis. How you can help us survive and how you can get us out the other side, and how you can help me actually earn an income, because that would be really nice. We obviously have customers who are not being affected currently by the crisis, because they're still coming in, they're still spending their money, they're still coming to classes, and that's wonderful, and we're very thankful for them. But we have noticed a huge decline in website orders and class bookings. And I can only put that down to the current cost of living crisis. There are no other aspects. We're not doing anything any differently. This end, we are very active still on social media, probably not as active as we could be. We could be more. Um, and we are still getting a lot of comments, a lot of likes, a lot of emails, questions, phone calls, etc., etc. So I really can hand on heart say that it is down to the cost of living crisis and people just not having the money. So I appreciate you may not be in a position to spend with us. If you are, please do. Please book a class. Don't sit on the fence. Please buy some fabric. Please come in and see us. Even if you just want to come and sit in our lounge, have a cup of tea, and flick through our craft books, and just pop a donation into our tea and coffee pot, that helps. Just having people in the studio raises the vibration, shall we say. It raises the atmosphere. It allows people to get to know each other, to chat, to communicate, to talk about things that they're interested in. It feeds our imaginations, the staff here. We can come up with ideas for new classes, we can put together new projects. So, when there's people in this studio, be it whether they're spending money or whether they're actually just being creative and spending time with us, it's really positive. So if you can, come down and see us, come and visit us. There is no expectation for you to spend money. The shop is open in the same way you can go and browse around Primark and not spend anything. You can come in here and browse. But it's lovely to have you. It's lovely to see you. And it's really good for us to be able to have those creative conversations with you. Other ways you can help. I talked earlier on about the algorithm for social media. And we know for a fact if you personally want to see the things that we are posting on our social media in your regular feed, you have to interact with us. If you don't, Facebook and Instagram will not show you our things. They will simply show you what they think you want to see. So if you see a picture from us pop up on your Instagram or your Facebook, give it a like. If you have the opportunity to, leave us a comment, even if it's just great idea, Claire. I like this. It doesn't have to be anything major. Even if you just say hi, Facebook will go, oh, that person's interacting with beautiful things. I'll show them more that Beautiful Things has to offer. And you won't miss out on our posts. So we post about special offers, which we've been doing recently, or when we post about a new fabric launch or a new class, you'll get to see it. So like everything you see, comment on everything you see. And that goes for any business that you follow on social media or would like to follow on social media. Join our free Facebook group. Get chatting in there. Share your makes. Show us what you're up to. Ask questions. There's a huge hive mind there that is available for you, and it's not going to cost you a penny. Share. If you see things that you think might interest other people that are also on your social media, share our posts with others. Share links to our website. Review us. If you've come along to a class or you've bought fabric from us, review us. We're on Google. You can review us on Google. You can add a review to our website. You can review us on Facebook. We are on TripAdvisor. Review us. If you've got a couple of minutes, do a review, because a bit like analytics, the easiest way to explain this, I call them the spiders. The little Google spiders, they're out there all the time. They're looking for new content. When they find new pictures, new text, new words, they go, oh, what's that? Where's that come from? Where can we share that? How can we raise this business's profile? It's called search engine optimization. SEO for any of you who are not web-based people. But we like the Google spiders. The Google spiders keep us nice and up the top there in the rankings of Google. So when people type into Google, I want to learn to sew, Beautiful Things is going to pop up right there. So all those reviews that you leave us, not only are they great feedback for us and we can share them and it's lovely to see you all having a great time, they really, really, really help us when it comes to the Google spiders and getting the word out there, spreading the word that Beautiful Things exists. because we are so grateful to our current audience and really grateful to our existing customers, but we need more customers. We need to take over the world, and only you can help us do that. Tell your friends if you're out for dinner with your next door neighbour and they happen to say, "Oh, I got given my nan's sewing machine the other week. I haven't got a clue what to do with it." Say, "I know just the person you need to go and see. Go and chat to Claire. She'll be able to help you out." Your granddaughter wants to learn to knit, and you haven't got the patience to teach them. Speak to your daughter and say, "I know I could book my granddaughter a knitting class for Christmas. Carol is the perfect knitting teacher. Go down to Beautiful Things and she will sort you out." So talk about us to your friends and family, because actually word of mouth is probably our second biggest customer draw. Social media is number one and word of mouth is definitely the second one. If you're in some of these groups on Facebook, for instance, like, I don't know, Billericay discussion page or Basildon chat or wherever, you quite often see people there who say, "Oh, I'm looking for someone who can do X, Y, and Z." If you think we can help that person, please just tag us, please share, please just add our website, because we are incredibly grateful. Again, word of mouth is absolutely everything. So I hope this video hasn't come across as a moan, because that's not what I intended. What I wanted it to do is to just explain that whole smoke and mirrors, what people think is going on and what is actually going on, both in people's lives and businesses, is often very different. I've always been really translucent. Is that the right word? No, it's not the right word either, is it? I know what I mean. I've always been very honest and open. What you see is what you get with me, and that is the same with my business. So, if you can help us either by doing a non financial thing or by doing a financial thing, or even both, I am incredibly grateful. I want Beautiful Things to grow and grow and grow, and I want to be able to continue to help many, many more people learn to sew, learn to knit, learn to crochet, do a craft. And I want to give them somewhere that they can do that, be it a physical space by coming here to BTHQ, or that online community, which we have, and I'm so thankful for. And again, we've got COVID to thank for that. That online community and our sewing club grew and grew and grew during that period, and it's still incredibly active, and there's people from all over the world in it, and that's lovely. So we are one step closer to world domination. So thank you. If you have any comments or any questions, please feel free to pop them in the comments and I will answer them all individually. And if you can, give this video a like. If you don't subscribe to our channel, please do. I am planning on uploading more content this year, I promise. But subscriptions are great. Again, the very tiny amount of advertising revenue that I get from YouTube is very helpful on a monthly basis. So yes, or just share this video. There's a little share icon down there at the bottom. You can share it via email, you can share it via WhatsApp, you can share it to your Facebook. If you think somebody else needs to see this video, share away. Thank you, thank you, thank you.